Fiscal policy. So, fiscal policy is basically presented by the government during the annual budget, which it covers government expenditure, taxation, government incomes. So, for us to understand, we always say government must, spend less. Government releases money into the economy through government expenditure. So, government manages, money in the economy through its expenditure. Government collects money from the economy, or it sucks money out of the economy through taxes and other receipts. You have your direct taxes, you have your indirect taxes. So that's the tool for government to take money away from the economy. So in the end, we always have money in circulation. So government, typically most governments in the world spend a little more than what it collects. So the excess of government expenditure over government revenue is called as a fiscal deficit. Typically, when we all run our business, we want to make profits, or when we earn our salary income, we earn money, and our expenses are a little lesser than what we earn. But government does exactly the opposite, so that we can do we can do with a little bit of extra money. So this is called as fiscal deficit, the excess of government expenditure over the revenue it gets. And this is typically done by the most of the economy. So fiscal deficit is something which is pretty common across the globe. Fiscal deficit is typically matched by borrowings. So what do you do when your expenditure is a little more than income? You borrow with the hope that at some point of time your income will be greater than expenditure, and you can repay it. The government does the same thing. They borrow from the RBI, they issue treasury bonds, and try to make up the deficit. Balance shortfall, that is, if they don't have sufficient money after the borrowings from the RBI, is when we get into a concept called monetization. That is, printing notes, printing currency notes. This is where all the issues around fiscal deficits happen. So when we do not have sufficient money, the RBI physically prints so many notes and releases into the economy. So this is where all the objections and all the hue and cry about fiscal deficit is. And we should also strongly object to monetization of fiscal deficit. Now let's move to the monetary policy. Monetary policy is issued by the RBI, presented by the RBI to manage growth, inflation, consumption, and liquidity. The tools available for RBI for this are basically the interest rates, the CRR and SLR, the money that the banks need to keep in liquid form, and the money that the banks need to keep with the RBI, and also some open market operations where they buy or sell bonds based on the liquidity. So let's understand certain aspects of the monetary policy of the RBI. So interest rates. Interest rates are typically used to control inflation. So high interest rates regime is done by the RBI, which is called as a dear money policy, where wherever inflation is high and needs to be under control. When inflation is under control, then the RBI reduces interest rates, which spur growth. But at the same time, the RBI keeps a close watch on inflation so that the low interest rate do not accelerate inflation. Higher liquidity is again helpful for growth. So where interest rate does not help, the RBI uses the monetary tools like the CRR, the SLR, or they also conduct some open market operations where they buy and sell bonds to maintain liquidity in the system. But this could again increase inflation. So we need to keep a close watch on how the inflation is getting impacted by interest rates and liquidity. As I mentioned to you, higher interest rates control inflation, but again it cripples growth. Why do high interest rates cripple growth? Fundamentally, we need to understand that if I'm a businessman and I want to grow my business, I'm going to need money, and that money I'm likely to borrow. So if I'm borrowing money and I'm supposed to run my business with it, I would like to pay low interest rates so that I can make higher profits. And so the rates need to be low for growth. High inflation also weakens currency, and RBI needs to keep a control and watch on currency. So all these aspects are fairly difficult job which is done by the RBI. So any economy needs to have all this under control. So with this, I would like to conclude our topics on macroeconomics. As always, you're free to visit www.moneygurukul.com. Do register with us for email updates. If you have any queries, do not hesitate to post them to money@moneygurukul.com or call 98454 Thank you for your attention and see you soon in the next topic, which is going to be financial planning. Bye for now. Individual